Welcome back to Strawberry Lemon. My name is Melody and this is the start of my Koreadathon vlog. So it is Thursday and I know this Koreadathon started on Monday, but what have I been doing since Monday? Not reading. But yeah, this week has not been a very good reading week for me, but I am planning on reading all 5 books that I put on my TBR, and if you haven't watched that video yet, I'll put it in a card up there. And here's a little montage of what I've been doing instead of reading these past few days, and I'll just go hide in that corner over there. So I hope you like that little montage. This week, not a good week for reading. I have been in a reading slump since the beginning of July. I started one book. I read the first 30 pages. It wasn't for the Koreadathon, but it did help me get me out of my slump. So I'm ready to tackle all 5 books on my TBR. So I have not been reading, I have not been watching the K-drama, I have not been doing anything for this readathon, but I did pick which K-drama I'm gonna watch the first episode for and what I'm gonna cook. So that's better than nothing, I think. So the K-drama that I am going to watch is Crash Landing on You, and I think it came out a few years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, I'm not sure. And I think it was popular when it came out. So it's about a girl who is a heiress in South Korea, and she went paragliding and ends up in a storm and crash lands in North Korea. And she ends up meeting a army general, chief, head, I don't know. But yeah, ends up meeting him, and he kind of helps hide her and protect her and is trying to get her back into South Korea. And I'm so excited for this. I will be vlogging how that episode goes, and then for what I'm going to be cooking, I decided to cook cold noodles. So on the Koreadathon Twitter page, there was a thread with easy recipes that are recommended for us to make if we don't know what we're making. And yeah, the recipe that I'm doing is made with a ramen packet noodle and some of the sauce there. And I'm so excited. I've only tried cold noodles once in a Korean barbecue in California, and I thought it was so good. And the one I'm making, I think, is spicy, so we'll see how that goes. And I picked something simple because I cannot cook for my life. I am trying to learn this summer. But let's not burn the house down with a recipe that is super hard and complicated. But I'm so excited, and I'll see you in the next update. Bye! Hello, so it is 8:40, and let me tell you, I did not read at all yesterday. Oh my gosh. So I basically haven't read all week. And then it just hit me that it's Friday. So I only have 3 days left of this readathon. And I have read 0 of my 5 books. So I'm kind of freaking out right now. But I am going to try to read 3, hopefully 2.5 at least books today. I'm going to read The Little Shard, The Autobiography of Death, and the tiger one. I don't remember the name. But the first 2 are really short, and then the third one I think might be a middle grade, but I'm not totally sure. But yeah, no reading was done last night. So I guess I'm still in my slump. I had a Netflix party yesterday with my friend because he wanted me to watch the first episode of The Money Heist because it's his favorite show right now. And oh my gosh, they're named after cities, which is so cool. I think the main character is Tokyo, which I love your name. And oh, the suspense, and it's just the first episode already. I can't. But yes, I need to read today. I need to read. I really want to read all 5 books. So we'll see how that goes. Bye! Oh my gosh, I just finished reading A Single Shard at 4.5 stars. Okay, it took me a lot longer than I thought. Goodreads says this book is like 200 pages, but my Kindle says it was 100 pages. So I don't know how long the book actually is, but oh my gosh, I loved every single character in that book. So there is Tree Air, who is our main character, and he's an orphan and he lived under a bridge with an old man named Crane Man, and Crane Man is disabled and he's like an old wise guy, really philosophical. He's that guy that you go to for advice and you trust and just has caring eyes and will take care of you. And Tree Air, this whole book is about pottery kind of, and Tree Air wants to learn pottery and he gets apprenticed by a very, very, very great master of pottery, and his name is Min. And oh my gosh, first I didn't really like Min, but he grows on you. He's kind of like the grumpy old man that it's the little gestures that they kind of show that they care about you. And I can't with this book. This book was so much deeper than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a fun, cute book about pottery, but no. I should note that there are mentions of suicide, and this, oh my gosh, I was between 4 and 4.5 stars. Some parts of the dialogue was a little weird, but I think that's because it's in the 12th century. So I am giving this book 4.5 stars because of the ending. So the end of the book, I was maybe dropping it to 4 stars, but then the last 2 paragraphs hit and I was like, nope, this is a 4.5 star book. I really, really enjoyed it. Oh, it was so good. And if you're interested in pottery, I really recommend this. This is in a little town in Korea, and the potters there focus on celadon wares. I think that's how you pronounce it. So it's a grayish green glaze kind of on the vase. I'm not a master of this. And the author asked a potter about all the steps of everything. So I think it should be pretty accurate, but it goes into just enough depth so it's not boring, but it's not too like vague. So you can imagine everything that is happening. And my favorite character is Crane Man. He is the best. I love him, and I loved how even on because Tree Air goes on a journey to deliver something, and even on his journey he never forgets about Crane Man. Even when he got the apprenticeship, he always thought about Crane Man and providing food for him, because Crane Man took care of him for many years and took him in as an orphan. And imagining Tree Air as a baby just clinging onto Crane Man's leg and not letting go and not wanting to leave is the cutest image ever. But yeah, I love them. Oh, and this whole book is based on a very famous vase called Thousand Cranes Vase, and they do not know who the maker is, but they dated it back to the 12th century, which is when this book takes place. And please go read it. Just know that it's not all butterflies and rainbows, but it's so good. I have so many thoughts on this, and there are a few spoilers that I want to say, so I will put them at the very end of this video, and I'll put timestamps down below if you want to hear about it. I am going for a walk now, and I will start Autobiography of Death when I get back. Bye! You always try to rock the world. I always get us back on course, but baby, you're the undertow. I told you that I can't wait, 'cause I can't even think straight. I feel just like I'm next to you, but baby, you're a word too heavy. Trapped in my thoughts, losing consciousness, can't wake up 'cause I'm obnoxiously missing you, and you're not too, and it always haunts me. Hi, it is Sunday morning, so it is the last day of the KOREADATHON, and I'm going to be cooking my food and watching the first episode, at least the first episode of Crash Landing on You today. I'm so excited for that. And then, so I have finished reading Autobiography of Death, and to be honest, I didn't really enjoy the book because it's not the fault of the book, I think. It's just me. I don't really usually read poetry, and poetry isn't really my strong suit in understanding it when reading. And yeah, but I still think that if you enjoy poetry, that you should really pick up the book, because this book seemed really important. There was an interview with the author in the end, and it talked about how a lot of the poems were written after tragic things happened in Korea. And there was a quote from the interview, and it says, "There have been many other incidents in our country where people have lost their lives under the violent force of government." So I think that's a really important topic to read about, and I'm definitely planning on returning to the book after I've read more poetry and start understanding poetry more. If you are going to pick up Autobiography of Death, though, I do recommend looking up the trigger warnings, because it does deal with a lot of different deaths and things. And yeah, and then I have read the first 100 pages of The Silence of Bones, and oh my gosh, I'm enjoying it so much so far. I ended up not reading When You Trap a Tiger because after Autobiography of Death, I was in a thriller mystery kind of mood, and it is so good. And there is this whole kind of subplot of like a revolt kind of happening. So there's a lot of Catholics in the city. They're in being murdered because it was like illegal back then. And yeah, oh my gosh, it's so interesting. And the relationship between our protagonist and our detective, I'm like, this is so cute. So I can't wait to finish this book. I'm hoping to read one more book before this readathon ends. And yeah, oh my gosh, also yesterday I video called my friends. We usually video call once a week, and we just play games and stuff, and we play Catan. And oh my gosh, I started playing Catan this month, and it is so fun. I lose every single time. I have not won a round of Catan, but it is so fun to play. And we also play Jackbox Party. And yeah, I'll see you in the last update for this vlog, and bye! Losing consciousness, can't wake up 'cause I'm obnoxiously missing you, and you're not too, and it always haunts me. It always haunts me. So it is Monday afternoon and the readathon ended at midnight last night, or this morning I guess, and I did not record them because I would not be able to show my excitement because people would be sleeping already. But yes, okay, so let's get started. We are going to start with Crash Landing on You. So Crash Landing on You was so good. It was so funny. I was not expecting the first episode to be that funny, but it was so funny. So everybody in the main girl, do not remember any of their names, but everybody in the main girl's family did not like her at all. And she did not care. She walked in, she was a boss, and then in her earlier time in life, and she's like, F you guys, I'm gonna go off, start my own company, be a billionaire, millionaire, whatever she is. She's so successful without the help of her family. At least I think it's without the help. It'll probably give flashbacks and further along into the show, but yes. And then when she gets to North Korea and everyone is trying to chase after her, it was so funny. You cannot believe the luck that she has. And then when one of the officers was like to the main guy, you said you believe in me, and he had like puppy dog eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, if you watched it, I think you should know what scene I'm talking about. But yes, it was so funny. And oh my gosh, the beginning had me dying when there was a paparazzi photo of the main girl and a guy. This isn't really spoilers. It's not, I don't think it's really relevant to the story, but she did not care. She's like, wait, can they unblur my face just a little bit so that it'll show off my earring, because that's part of what I'm promoting right now. And I was like, girl, she does not care. And she's like, actually, let's do a full body picture so that it will have all of my clothes and my purse and everything. I was like, yes, girl. So that's that. I'm probably going to watch the rest of the show. I watched the half of the second episode and I was like, nope, you gotta hit pause or else you are just gonna binge watch the show the whole day instead of reading The Silence of Bones. So I stopped myself, but I am probably gonna finish the whole drama. Okay, and then on to the cold noodles. Oh my gosh, the cold noodles were such a success, at least in my books. I got the stamp of approval from my brother who said, it's fine, I would eat it again, which I'm like, yes. It actually came out so good. I was a little skeptical because once I mixed everything together and poured the water in, I was like, this looks a little sketchy because there were still flecks of the powder in there, and I was like, I wonder if this will taste good. But then I added the noodles and tried it, and it was so good. I usually like the spiciness of the ramen packet that we used when it's hot, but for some reason when we made it cold, it was actually spicier than what it usually is, which makes no sense in my mind. But yeah, so next time I would probably just put a little less of the soup base that it came with. But yeah, it was so good. I'm definitely gonna make it again because it's such a good option to eat during the summertime for the hot weather when you need noodles but it's too hot for hot soup. You got cold soup. But yes, it was so good. I will link the recipe that I used down below. And yeah, and then finally onto The Silence of Bones, which I actually didn't even end up finishing yesterday. I finished it today, which is after the readathon. I've been really bad at actually reading the books that I put on my TBR, but I had so much fun. This was so fun. And The Silence of Bones was so good. It was like, it went down and then up for me, like a parabola or something. So I really liked all the characters, or most of the characters in the beginning. And then towards the middle of the book, like the middle 100 pages, I was like, I don't really like any of you guys anymore. And then at the end, it was just so much suspense. I was like, who done it? And it was just so good. And yeah. And also, I was not expecting this to be a serial murder case. This is not really a spoiler, but yes, it's a serial murder case. I was like, what? I did not know this. I thought it was just one murder and they were trying to hunt the person down, but yeah, it was a serial murder case, which makes it so interesting. And then all of the books I read incorporated Korean culture, and I would definitely watch other people's review to see how accurate everything is, but I think it was pretty good. And especially in The Silence of Bones, some of the words they use I didn't know, but the author did a really good job in sometimes supplying definitions. And of course you can always Google the ones that she doesn't supply, but she doesn't do that a lot. And it just makes it so much easier to imagine the story with all of the cultural aspects. And yeah, I recommend this book. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. In the middle of the book, I was kind of like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys thinking? Both Inspector Han and Seoul, I was like, what are you both doing? I think that's how you pronounce their names. But I was like, what are you guys doing? But yes, in the end, it was all the suspense that I needed. I did not guess who the killer was. In the beginning, I was like, I feel like I might know who the killer is. I was way off. I did not know who the killer was, which is what makes mystery books so good. So if you want like a mystery thriller kind of thing, definitely pick this up. And I think I will end the vlog here. I'm going to insert some spoilers for The Single Shard, so be sure to click away or pause now if you don't want to hear those, but you can see all of my reactions after reading the book. Okay, I'll see you guys probably on Thursday. Bye! Okay, so spoilers for A Single Shard. Oh my gosh, when the vase broke, I was like, because the journey was going too well, just too well. And then I thought, it wasn't this book A Single Shard. He brings a single shard and the vases were still together, so I knew something would happen. Especially when they talked about that mountain. I was like, I know something bad is going to happen there. And it did. And the ending, oh, I teared up at the ending. I was so sad. I thought Min might have died. Honestly, I thought he might have come back and Min might be dead. But Crane Man died? I was not expecting that. Crane Man is awesome. Crane Man can make chopsticks from wood. He makes his own cane from wood. He can make slippers and baskets with straw, and he says the best. I cannot. And then the last few paragraphs that explains the 1,000 Cranes vase, I was like, oh my gosh, that's why he's called Crane Man. So I think the assumption is that Tree Air made it, because the actual vase, nobody really knows who made it. But it was kind of, I think it's that Tree Air or his new name. He got a new name in the end of the book, but he made the vase kind of in honor of Crane Man, because each circle in the vase has a crane. And that's just so beautiful, and why I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 4 stars. Okay, I think that is all of my thoughts on the book. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye!